The very first time I met Baron Thyssen in Monaco, I was working for Sotheby's, and he was a big client. So I was told, you better take good care of this collector. He's very important to the firm.
I knew Simon de Pirey from my time at Sotheby's, so we immediately had a nice get-together, and he asked me to come over meet the Baron at his private home. So that was a Sunday at lunchtime. We came over, and I remember coming into this fantastic dining room with a Picasso hanging on it, and in this unbelievably beautiful environment. And the first thing Baron Thyssen, who was very friendly and obviously a very glamorous person, the first thing he said, well, what would you like to drink? And then I remember saying, well, a Bloody Mary. And that was a bit unusual for me.
Fue en abril del 86, con ocasión de una visita que hice acompañado también con Rodrigo Uría a la casa de los barones Thyssen en Daylesford, en Inglaterra. Y ahí es donde por primera vez, yo creo, la baronesa planteó a representantes del gobierno la posibilidad de que la colección Thyssen viniera a España.
The Baron came with a friend to my studio in Florence. In 1964, I had a paintings conservation studio. We had some small talk, and then he put on my work table a sculpture. It was like a head of a woman painted in wood, like a Quattrocento portrait bust.
My first meeting with Baron Thyssen was when I was a very young student of art history. I was, I think, 20 or 21, and I started working there with an internship, and at Christmas I was, like all the other people in the staff, invited at the Villa Favorita, ground floor, where Baron Thyssen would give gifts to all the staff, and that was the first time that I saw him.
Era una persona en que uno notaba la importancia que su persona tenía, emanaba un cierto aire de ser el hombre de negocios y el financiero que uno sabía.
He's truly very inspiring personality, very charismatic, a great sense of humor, so you could always laugh, and I think it's important in life to take things with humor. He took everything with a pinch of salt, with a certain distance. He was a very generous man, and he had incredible energy. You know, I said I was only 27 when I started working for him, but when I would follow him on trips, after 3 weeks I would come back exhausted.
Baron Thyssen was a very elegant, but discreetly elegant. He was like a gentleman, always properly and correctly dressed, and he obviously had a presence that was quite. He would walk into a room and you would definitely notice him, and you'd have a lot of respect for him right away.
Me pareció siempre una persona muy amable, una persona muy tranquila, que también sabía bien lo que quería. Es decir, que tenía ideas claras sobre lo que quería, pero que tenía experiencia, sabía que las cosas no se consiguen de una vez, que los objetivos hay que buscarlos con constancia y determinación, y que a veces lo que ocurre inmediatamente no es lo principal, sino lo que se acaba consiguiendo.
I miss him terribly because he was wonderful to be with. He had a wonderful sense of humor. He had tremendous perception for works of art.
When he came to Lugano, usually we had lunch and we discussed all the things that we had to discuss over lunch. And it was always very pleasant. He would ask his butler or his secretary to tell me that I was invited for lunch. and then we would discuss things in a very relaxed way, I would say. But a lot of our communications were in those years through either the phone or in writing.
Recuerdo siempre un trato afable, siempre sensación de encontrarse con alguien que se encontraba bien en esta vida y que al encontrarse bien, pues verdaderamente ello no le impedía sentirse cómodo con los demás.
You know, I always say everybody in their life have maybe 1, 2 or 3 role models, people that play a key role in their lives in the future as well. And when I look back on my professional life, there's no question that Baron Thyssen played an absolutely fundamental role. He is still to this day a role model for me, and I got so much inspiration by seeing not only his commitment and his passion for art, but really more generally how he dealt with life in general, how even the difficult situations, he always took them with a little bit of a distance. He was observing his own life as if it was the life of someone else.
It was, I would say, a dream come true because it also didn't have the same restraints that a public institution, a public museum would have, because there you have departments, you have budgets, you have to go through various kinds of procedures. With working with Baron Thyssen, he liked an idea, you got the go-ahead, he could afford saying, I want to do this. So we just quickly could do the projects that made sense and that were fantastic, special, interesting projects. And that was a kind of freedom that you probably wouldn't have had in an academic institution.
Thinking that my first job after university, or actually when I was still studying, was at the Villa Favorita. The fact that I went back in the mid-90s to be the last gallery director at the Villa Favorita, and that still today, 20-odd years later, I'm still working for some members of the family, means that it has had an enormous impact in my life, and it has also fostered my interest in the history of collecting and in working for other collectors.
He was obsessed, he was passionate, he was driven, as I've said before, a fantastic sense of humor and single-minded focus, so very, very focused and very knowledgeable.
He had a kind of an instinct. He trusted the people that gave him advice.
He would start talking to all the best people in the fields, he would visit the museums, he would learn about that field. And I think that this constant intellectual curiosity is a very special feature.
Baron Thyssen very much wanted to bid on this painting, but shortly before he found out that his great friend, Jimmy Ortiz Patiño, the grandson of Simon Patiño, the Tin King from Bolivia, also wanted to bid on the work. So these two friends were very worried that they were going to push up the price to an enormous degree, so they decided to buy it jointly. So each would pay 50-50, and they would have, first Baron Thyssen would have it for 2.5 years, then it would go to Jimmy Ortiz Patiño in Soto Grande for another 2.5 years.
I remember once when we did the opening of the Fabergé eggs, that was a collection from the Forbes magazine collection. They had Fabergé treasures, including several Fabergé eggs. And either Baron Thyssen or Mr. Forbes himself got the idea that for the opening we should make a huge balloon in the shape of one of the Fabergé eggs in the collection.
Recuerdo que hubo un momento en donde pues sí se disgustó el Barón un poco con las autoridades españolas, porque después de comprar ese cuadro al que me he referido antes de la Marquesa de Santa Cruz, no lo enviamos a una exposición que él estaba organizando en Lugano, una exposición de pinturas de Goya, retratos de Goya realmente, en las colecciones privadas españolas. Y en fin, todo eso se arregló y volvió a retomarse la conversación, y lo que pudo ser un momento de tensión en una negociación, bueno, se despejó porque había objetivos más importantes.
when he asked me to be the guide for all the visitors that came, the groups that came to Daylesford House, the house he had in England, and probably because I was studying art history and he thought that I was the best person to do that, so he used to fly me to London and then to Daylesford to do the guided tours, and I thought that was very, very exciting at the time and a big honor actually to do that.
And one evening there was huge piles of paper, and there were one big pile here, one big pile there, and he was sort of in the middle, and he was kind of scribbling on a sheet of paper with a pencil. And I said, Heine, what are you doing here? He said, I'm deciding whether to build a ship. This pile of paper is all the experts in the world telling me that I should build it. And then this pile are all the experts, other experts that tell me I shouldn't build it. And so what are you doing? He says, I'm trying to figure it out on the back of an envelope.